How's it going, beautiful people? Jack here. So how about we talk about Canada? Well, more specifically, the French part of Canada, Quebec. I don't know why I always pronounce it like that. The Québécois. Anyways, Quebec made this wonderful game that I tried once during a summer vacation in 2019 when it came out. And I played like 3 hours of it and I just couldn't get through it. I got inspired because I follow some French-Canadian bodybuilders. One of them was playing that, like split screen, which I found to be interesting because those barely exist anymore. And so I want to try it. Unfortunately, I didn't quite have anybody to play it with me while I was on vacation, but it doesn't matter. The thing was, there is only just like a certain amount of tedium that I'm willing to go through. Like trust me, I like to push through games that are boring. But the thing is that there needs to be something about them that catches your attention. Like they need to have like a specific gimmick about them to make me interested still, although they may be somewhat boring to others. But yeah, that's just the point. I didn't get through the game, and perhaps that was a misjudgment on my part. So for that reason, I'll be checking out this review by Seth this time.
Hey people, Seth here. Today, I'll be playing a video game. Usually, I don't. Have you ever wanted to survive a Russian winter using nothing but jam and herbal tea, traverse the desert during the day,
the
holy month of Ramadan, and die of heat stroke because you forgot to wear your turban, or lose private property to the state because the state finds you guilty of being alive? Welcome to Outward, which came out in March 2019. Could have fooled me because it feels like it came out of early access in March 2020. I'm kidding, Jean. It's actually pretty great, unlike French Canada, which refuses to join the 21st century. In Outward, you run hundreds of miles while not moving at all in real life, but also you play a shipwreck survivor in a relatable setting. You're broke, you're hideously deformed, and you're about to be homeless. As such, there's no better time to explore the mysteries of the great wide world, which is filled to the brim with experiences and adventures you won't forget. Or, in my case, you're gonna step out the front door of your village, get assaulted by goons, and get pressed into a life of heavy labor in the coal mines, where the dominant government is a strict meritocracy, standing by the noble principles of you don't work, you don't eat. Also, we got free drinking water. Drinking the tapeworms inside it is completely optional. There's a lot to do in this game. Go fishing and catch yourself a nice pair of shoes. Get chased by wild poultry. Look back behind you and see the same poultry get chased by wild hyenas instead. Mine natural rock formations. Get attacked by unnatural rock formations. Acquire salt from the ground and from the tears of your enemies as you lure an entire bandit fortress into several miles of tripwire. Cure every disease by boiling beetles in hot liquid and calling it tea. Enjoy the weather in moderation. Enjoy the extensive lore and backplot. Just kidding.
Right.
None. Enjoy dying in the hallowed marsh because you accidentally clipped out of a collision box. Hope you didn't start the game on hardcore because there's a 1 in 5 Russian roulette gamble that your save game just got permanently deleted. Pick up a bow and quick scope your enemies. Remember to crouch so they don't see you. Don't worry, every enemy has to spend 1 spinal injury to process what's going on. Then they use the second arrow embedded in their chest to calculate the directional velocity vector of where those arrows might be coming from. Realize that enemies are pretending to be dead. Why else does this chicken keep screaming each time I beat its corpse? Explore new and amazing cave systems. Fun fact,
it isn't quite done, is it?
Can't see shit. Better pack a torch, strap a lantern to your pack, or better yet, light a campfire every 10 meters to trace your way back, because there's no map in the dungeon. There is a map of the area, but there's no magical GPS to tell you where you are. You gotta figure out your location and orientation using landmarks and natural geography. Let's say I need to head back to town.
I just follow the sun.
Oh right, it's northwest of a gigantic screaming pylon. Go camping. Get stabbed inside your own tent. Take the eco-friendly option and grow your own biodegradable tent. It's more expensive, but hey, it's better for carbon emissions. Go to bed. Get stabbed anyway. Go camping in town because somehow there's no law against vagrancy in the market square or against setting up bonfires, cooking appliances, and even a miniaturized meth lab in the middle of the street. The legal system in this game
get it,
could
you
use
vape.
some work. There's also a lot you can't do in this game. For a start, you can't level up. There's no leveling in this game. The same four bandits
I was
on the
wondering
picture
about
can
that.
fuck you up at any stage of a game. So, how does one get stronger? 1. You go into a dungeon and loot it for every possible piece of gear. In this game, equipment is not made equal. The difference between a wooden fishing stick and a unique legendary spear is quite staggering. On top of that, you can craft your own weapons and armor or get them custom built by the local blacksmith. In time, you can go from looking homeless
Who
and
all speak the
malnourished
same?
to looking like this. These are achievable natty gains, dictated only by how much time and money you're willing to spend. There's a lot of different weapons with their own attack patterns, each having their own strengths and weaknesses depending on the enemy. 2. Skills. There's abilities, both actively and passively aggressive, taught to you.
Yo, you can rock as a skeleton wielding DiGiorno. That's quite
By
something.
different trainers across the world. You can learn everything in the bottom half of each skill tree, but if you want to master the profession, you'll need to spend a breakthrough point, and you only get 3 of these per character. Combining certain skills and gear lets you roleplay a specific class, anything from a warrior to a holy warrior to an archer, a spellcaster, or even a pizza delivery boy. The possibilities are rather limited actually, but hey, it's there. Don't mind me, I'm just regretting my decision to run nothing but pistols, forgetting that these are 17th century single-use flintlock pistols that take an entire lunch break to properly load, all for the luxury of being able to do this. I didn't bring an antidote. And free,
And your
the
saves.
most important of all, food. Winning fights is all about what you put inside your mouth. Real champions.
a bit of
equal
Monster Hunter.
champions. Cierzo Savish, Luxe Léchette, Ragout de Marais, and Diadème de Gibier is what those words sound like coming out of a foreigner's mouth.
Yeah,
These
it's
are all
rather
French
well
dishes
pronounced.
that effectively translate to the
Diadème de
same
Gibier.
thing. 10 to 15 minutes of turbo stamina, health, and mana recovery. They also look delicious, so I tried to recreate them in real life, at which point they became biohazardous and I had to stop. Better stay hydrated as well, because that's another
If you ever wonder as to why Seth's reviews come a bit late, dude, he's suffering from salmonella poisoning.
3 minutes of stamina recovery, and that shit stacks. There's no quick and easy way of getting back your vitality, and, at least in the early game, potions are outside the coverage of your healthcare plan. So, if you hope to survive, you better learn how to cook some goddamn delicious meals, or convince your partner to do it instead. Also, losing your health and stamina will slowly burn it for the rest of the day, which means the longer you exert yourself, the weaker you become. There's only 2 ways about this: sleeping and drinking fuck tons of tea, which is a temporary solution at best, since Monster Energy will only be craftable in the upcoming expansion. For now, there's no such thing as caffeine. The safest option is sleeping in town, but more often than not, you'll have to camp in the wilderness or at the bottom of some disgusting pit with no natural sunlight, which most of us refer to as miscellaneous dungeon number 7. That may sound spooky until you realize high-quality tents give you even more obscene stat bonuses, and getting ambushed is just free money. Outward is an open-world RPG, which really focuses on the open world and vaguely remembers that role-playing has something to do with fashion. Outward takes place during the Old Testament, and as such, besides paying your blood debt to a dysfunctional tribal society, it doesn't give you much reason or motivation for doing anything. Just collect berries, make jam, reproduce, and die. If you keep
What
your
the
health,
hell?
there's no more payments. If you don't, then just progress the story. Spoiler, you get back at your tribe anyway. Oh, what's that? A group of local warlords?
Takes place during the Old Testament. Clearly before, we just, besides saying mage and other craftable things, we saw somebody wielding a flintlock pistol. Multitude of them.
Are planning to invade, and they're gonna teach everyone living here the meaning of the word gaping hole. I am incredibly invested in securing the future and livelihood of this backwater fishing village. However, I was too slow. Shame on me for packing 50 kilos of Weetabix. My home is destroyed. What a sad
What
loss
have you done?
of life. And also, I don't owe money anymore because everyone is dead. This game has a hard time making me give a shit about the plot or any of the characters. The entire story is told to you through several lines of dialogue. I've read
A thing that I never understand And okay, I kind of do because it's in order to cut cost. Unfortunately, it's also coming in an upcoming game that I want to recommend people to play, but it sometimes happens. Either you just leave it with a full length of text, right? Or you voice act just about anything that is relevant. Don't do the half-ass thing where like a couple of lines are voice acted and the rest you have to read. That is so awkward to me. I don't get it. It's like, okay, just do the, I was about to say Farmville, Animal Crossing thing, like with an unintelligible language, right? It's fine if you want to cover for that, but damn it, man.
Erotic fanfiction with a higher word count than this entire game. The dialogue is voice acted, but voice acting is expensive. Hey, ever since Quebec left Canada, you can't call it a street anymore. It's a fucking war zone out there. And getting a voice actor alive into city limits with most of
that's that anime Wolf Brigade thing. Yeah. With the Panzer. Wow. I was about to call them something German because I'm currently playing through Wolfenstein. Never mind.
Still attached? That's not happening. You're not going to survive a first dead zone without a paramilitary escort, and that's a cost the studio can't afford, which is why they voice act the first 5 words in a sentence and stand around silently while you read the rest. Not like it makes a difference, because there's only 5 voice actors in this entire game who are incredibly talented to be able to vocalize so many different, unique characters. Who could forget the blacksmith?
What can I do for you?
Who is genetically identical to every other blacksmith ever.
Exactly.
Want to buy something? What can I do for you? Want to buy something?
Whether naturally or by cesarean, the dude who sells fish.
Greetings, friend. Farewell, my friend.
And of course, Cyrene, who prefers the crispy, smooth texture of Lucky Strikes. What's her secret? It's toasted. To truly appreciate the voice acting, I recommend going to the settings and putting the volume to 0. There is replayability to the story. In a sense, you can choose between 3 different factions. The same people who try to repossess your private property, the Holy Mission on a jihad against corruption, and the Sand People on a jihad against anyone who wants their oil. Can I be very blunt for a second? Each faction has a quest line. This is 4 missions long, and one of these is the same final quest with a different coat of paint. That's a little short, but I guess that's fine for an indie title that's only wait, how much? Are you aware that we're about to have a global recession? Creating a character is an intense experience where the men have a grand selection of 4 different faces. The women have it a little better. There's options for customizing their waist, thighs, and of course, mammaries. They even have 2 sliders for body positivity. I do, however, like the Asian face, and I also like this haircut. Everyone else looks like an alcoholic stepdad, a wife beater, or ninja from Fortnite. Those are your options. Enjoy. Walking. Walking is a fantastic form of cardiovascular exercise, just like long-distance jogging. Homo sapiens are uniquely adapted for such movement, which is why we traditionally hunted wild animals by running them down slowly for many miles. How is this relevant, Seth? Because in Outward, it's what you're going to be doing 90% of the time. The other 10% is managing your inventory. Here is footage of me taking a short, brisk sprint from one town to the next. Unfortunately, I had to cut this segment as it would be longer than this entire video. I can finally understand why there's so many skeletons lying around. These were the people who came before me and died in the process of trying to review this game. Many will tell you this is part of a meaningful journey of holding down the shift key. Many will also tell you this is why there's no fast travel, because this is a game for hardcore gamers. However, nothing in this game can actually outrun you. You can safely ignore everything and auto-run to your destination. And there is actually an unconventional form of fast travel in this game. It's called throwing yourself down a mountainside and breaking your legs. You see, when your legs explode, they will instantaneously warp you to the nearest town. If you can't find a cliff, there's a second form of fast travel in this game. It's
I love it whenever people find the hidden mechanics that the devs had in there for their own testing.
called swallowing a cyanide pill. This is a form of speedrunning discovered during the Nuremberg trials and has virtually the same effect. In this game, you don't really die. You have defeat scenarios, which is one of several random events that occur instead of death. These are unique to each area and depend on the circumstances of your untimely demise, but they didn't account for people intentionally dying as a means of teleportation. If you don't, can't, or won't use such exploits, then I recommend speed hacking instead. You might frown upon me, but when you become gray and old and your grandson asks you, what did you do with all your time? And you answer,
I was running
the entirety of my youth holding down the shift key. He'll look back at you, teary-eyed, and say, Granddad, this is why we don't visit you. Tomorrow, I'm pulling the plug. Get fucked. I did have some memorable experiences in Outward. It's very beautiful, and the soundtrack is amazing. But if you want a real cinematic experience, turn on motion blur and let your eyes glaze. There's still a lack of dialogue in this game, so I have to roleplay to fully immerse myself. Sometimes I stand around the giant village, pretending that I'm a small boy, helping out the kebab stand for my Albanian father. Exploring is a measured, careful experience, since you'll often get overwhelmed by enemies unless you come prepared. Luckily, I can always tell what's out there, because they always spawn into existence T-posing in the middle of the sky. I find this very entertaining. In this game, there's no such thing as over-prepared, only the fine line between survival and death. I took that advice to heart, and I've never actually seen a boss fight in this entire game. All I could ever see was a fade to black, followed by the sounds of multiple explosions. You see, most of the skill trees are generally interesting, but then there's Rogue Engineer, which lets you do this. I have spent the entirety of my game time breaking the game with pressure plate traps. As such, I have no idea how combat works. I only know how many pressure plates are necessary for each encounter. The answer to which is, how much space do you have? I did hear people call combat clunky, and I sympathize, because the range on those fucking daggers is about the length of a toddler's arm, so I really recommend using two-handed weapons instead. They swing harder, but most importantly, they swing wider, so you're more likely to clip something in the face, even if they're dodging. Oh yeah, this game's got a great combat system, because it's broken. There's nothing to explain, except don't get hit, or you'll get stun-locked and die. It's pure cheese, and the same works on your enemies. You smack them hard enough until they fall, and then you beat the shit out of them as they try to get up.
Department was kind of good.
Engaging multiple enemies is risky. It's better to try and pick them off at a distance, kite them into tripwire, or just hit them between loading screens. I hope you buy this system, because this game takes a while to load. Remember, in Outward, there's no such thing as fair play. If it works, it's a valid means of achieving your goals. There's nothing dishonorable about impaling your enemies and running away while they bleed to death. They're also easily distractible, as I found one of the most effective weapons to be your legs, which you can use to lure bandits into death traps. As they get ripped apart by the local wildlife, you can jump in and loot the bodies for monetary gain. Some enemies, however, don't respond well to physical assault. In this case, you smear caviar on your Kleenex tissues and kill them anyway. When might fails, magic prevails, as do pizza-based attacks. I mention magic, yet you don't start with it. Learning how to cast spells is a journey in itself. You first have to reach a magical ley line. However, the only one around is inside Conflux Mountain. You'll know it when you see it, because it kinda stands out. Inside the mountain, you can take several different paths to get there. I took the most treacherous, because I was told by the heavily armed paladin at the door that it's also the shortest. He proved his point by getting his face crushed immediately after. Naturally, I left him dead on the floor and ran like a bitch. There was nothing magical about this experience. It wasn't until the next day that I dared to go back, together with better gear and a billion tripwires. Marching through the darkness, eventually I reached the ley line, where the game offered me the ability to use mana in exchange for a permanent sacrifice of my health and stamina. At such generous exchange rates, how could I say no? After all that preparation, hardship, and the trauma of seeing a man get ripped apart in front of me, I got the ability to cast this piece of shit. Have I been scammed? No, not at all. Well, maybe, but the sacrifice is permanent, so let's just accept that I made a mistake. In this game, spells are useless on their own.
It's like being part of the X-Men, right? Being offered to be Johnny Storm. I know he's not part of the X-Men, it's the Fantastic Four, but follow along with the example here. And being given the power of the guy from X-Men 2, Pyro. What a loss. That's a big L, because the dude can't even produce his own flames. He needs a lighter at all times. That will suck.
But combined together become incredibly potent. If I first inscribe a sigil of fire on the floor, which requires the use of expensive reagents, any spark I cast turns into a fucking fireball. Holy shit, you can learn a bunch of unrelated spells only to find out their synergy much later. For example, I never understood the point of Reveal Soul until I realized it also works with spark. Goodbye, mana potions. Hello, consuming a dead man's soul for free mana. And when I don't want to consume, I cast Conjuration and enslave him to be my undead follower. If I get into rune magic, the runes do nothing, but when two are strung together in sequence, produce different effects. If I train on to learn arcane syntax, I get to use the more powerful 4-word sequences instead. Or if I join the Cabal of Wind, I can summon a Sigil of Wind, provided I've activated the regional totem, because the 5 winds won't listen if they don't know you. Inside, sparks become thunder, conjuration cooks the area, and any bullet I load into my pistol turns into this. Now,
that's cool.
Problem with this system. There's a lot of abilities, a lot of skills, many of them which can and should be combined because that's what we're told to do. It's what the game encourages, but you can't. The reason for this is you only get 8 quick slots. That's a grand total.
Yeah, that sucks.
Hotkeys in a game where you frequently need about twice that number. There are mods to fix this, but they break on every patch. I know this game is designed for consoles, but hear me out. They're not to blame. You know who is? The French Canadians. Why the fuck is there no button to toggle the hotkeys? Just add an extra key. Come on, there's space.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy
shift.
14 managed to do it, and they did it on a brick,
half a key.
which has 2 buttons welded together in concrete. Please, Guillaume, hear my plea. Please. I even pronounced your name correctly this time.
Guillaume
Boucher-Vidal is also good. It's called 2-player co-op, and it completely rescues the game. Outward is one of the only modern games with local split-screen co-op. This is straight out of the 2000s, and it works great. The difficulty scales with 2 people, and honestly, it feels almost perfect. Everything can either knock you out or outright kill you in a single swipe, which makes your victories and progress together all the more meaningful. I try to play online, but unfortunately, my copy of the game has some connectivity issues. Also, none of my friends play Outward, so we played Company of Heroes 2 instead. I found that satchel charges are very similar in function to pressure plates. The only difference is that I got the instant gratification of hearing my friend scream each time he got baited into the exact same trap. I give Outward's multiplayer a 10 out of 10. I had a lot of fun, we were very immersed, and we learned a great deal about ragdoll physics. In summary, Outward is an Italian cooking simulator designed to be played with your girlfriend. Outward provides an interesting, measured, and slow experience that gets diluted by all the hours of walking. I skipped the walking, saved my sanity, and saw the game for what it is, a beautifully ambitious gem of a game. Yet, that gem is uncut and uncircumcised. It's rough around the edges, but it shines best as a cooperative action RPG. And there's clearly a lot of love put into it. If you're willing to forgive all that, there's a lot to enjoy. And supposedly, the upcoming expansion will add more post-game content. I give this game a 15 out of $45, which is the price I'm willing to pay for it. And I asked GOG to put it on discount according to my score.
The global recession.
And until June 15th, you get screwed a little less by our corporate masters. If you're watching later and you missed out, have a look at this. The game is always on discount. It just rotates across stores. Of course, you can always get a bigger discount, but by that I mean going to your friend's house and trying it for yourself. Except your friend's name is Trusted VIP Uploader, and his house is an IP address. As always, more content to come, so stay tuned. A warm thanks to the many members of the Merchants Guild generously funding and bankrolling these videos. You're all truly wonderful. Have a good one.
Okay, that was pretty good. And that's the thing, exactly what got me through it. Like, I couldn't. Imagine how long he had to play through this to get to understand all of these mechanics. Which I am not saying that one shouldn't do. One should definitely get to do that, but it just wasn't for me. Guys, have any of you ever played Outward or any other MMO out there that either single player or multiplayer that you would recommend. Let me know in the comment section below. With that said, I thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, you know what to do. Hit that like and or subscribe button to see more. And I wish you all to have a wonderful day. See you guys next time. Bye.